actually really wanted to stick to my roots. So mochi was actually a dessert I ate growing up as a kid, and I really, really loved it. Mochi is definitely really fun because you can actually put any flavor you like in there, and I just felt like it was the perfect combination of what I love and what I like to do, and definitely what I like to eat as well, all together in one.
Welcome to Beating the Odds, the podcast about successful minority businesses that will inspire, educate, and inform you. Your host is Mike Dewey, entrepreneur and founder of Hidden Star, a 501c3 nonprofit that has helped hundreds of minority entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses. Discover and celebrate minority business success with Beating the Odds.
Hi, this is Mike Dewey, and on the show today is Mimi Lau. Mimi, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. So you've got a really interesting business, and you're in New York City, right?
Yes, in Manhattan, East Village.
All right. That's great. And can you tell us a little bit about your business and what you do?
Yeah, so I basically started my business when I was 23. We basically sell bite-sized sweets, and it's all revolving around this rice flour dough, which is gluten-free. And it's very interesting because it ties in with a lot of different cultures behind this one little dessert. So we basically try to educate people what this dessert really means to everyone.
Oh, thank you. And I've looked at your website, and it looks incredible. Promise you, I'm gonna order a bunch of these things. Holy cow, those look great.
Thank you.
Anyway, so great. So tell us a little bit about you. Where did you grow up? How did you spend your childhood? Did you move around? All of that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a not so great environment, and it was always very hard to put food on the table, and I would always be with my mom during that time. And basically that's actually how my passion tied into cooking. I really, really love to cook, and I think food is just really interesting. It just brings a lot of different types of emotions to the table when you're gathering with a lot of people. And I think as a child, seeing that made me so interested into getting into the food industry, and I guess that's how it all started. But definitely, it was very tough growing up and trying to always just live day by day. So that was pretty much how my life was growing up.
Right. Did you grow up in New York City?
Yes, Brooklyn.
Got it. So you grew up in Brooklyn. Did you move around a lot, or you kind of stay in one spot?
I did actually move around a lot, but we mostly stayed in Brooklyn, just everywhere around Brooklyn.
Got it. The reason I ask that is a lot of these successful entrepreneurs, for whatever reason, moved around a lot as a kid, and they didn't have to go far, but they moved around a lot. It's a really interesting thing. So thanks. So when you were a kid in Brooklyn growing up, and your family was not affluent, and you're a Chinese American, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So did you have any do you remember your earliest childhood ambition? Did you want to be an entrepreneur? Is there anybody in your family or friends that were entrepreneurs? How did all that happen?
Yeah, so actually, I guess you could say I've always wanted to open my own dessert store. That was my biggest ambition. And definitely, I was actually not surrounded by people in the industry. All of my friends are mostly in accounting, finance, and growing up, they would always just say they want a safe, stable job. So I guess those are the people I was surrounded by the most, and it was very hard to relate to them because I was always the one that just wanted to do something that was in the food industry, and not many of them were interested in that, which is quite interesting.
So none of your family or friends were entrepreneurs. Nobody in your orbit was was an entrepreneur, but you always wanted to open your own dessert shop.
Yeah. I guess the time I did start to interact with entrepreneurs was when I started going to college and when I started taking on jobs in the food industry. That was
Oh,
definitely
got it.
where I got connected with all the people. Yeah.
Well, where'd you go to college?
Farouk, for entrepreneurship. Yeah. It's a funny story because I actually really wanted to go to culinary school, but my mom was so against it, and I had to get a bachelor's degree basically in order to keep living with her. So I had to go and get my bachelor's degree at an actual college before I can even think about going to culinary school at that point. So yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. So what was your first job growing up? Your first paying job?
Oh my god, it was at the ice cream shop in Chinatown. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Chinatown Ice Cream Factory. Very popular. It's been open for a very long time, and it's a family-run business.
Well, those dots connect, don't they?
My passion for sweets and ice cream shop. Oh yeah, definitely.
So you started Mochii, New
Yeah.
York City, when?
2017. Yeah.
Right? And so it's apparent, but there's a lot of desserts you could do. Why did you pick the mochi rather than pies or cakes or a bakery or a more mainstream dessert shop?
Yeah, it's a interesting question. I do get asked that a lot. I actually really wanted to stick to my roots. So mochi was actually a dessert I ate growing up, as a kid, and I really, really loved it. It's great because you can't really eat too much of it, and they're really small. They're basically portioned out to be like a self-control where you can eat a certain amount and just be so satisfied. And definitely the flavors. I really love Asian flavors, and mochi is definitely really fun because you can actually put any flavor you like in there. And I just felt like it was the perfect combination of what I love and what I like to do, and definitely what I like to eat as well, all together in one.
Sounds sounds perfect. So when you started Mochi in 2017, did you start in your house or did you rent a space with a commercial kitchen? How did you get this thing started?
Wow. It's such a long process, Mike. I can't even tell you like what my thought was when I started the industry. I basically went into it at age 16, starting from an ice cream shop and bouncing to all different kinds of jobs in the restaurant field. And I went to a lot of other dessert shops too. And I basically trained myself to really build my knowledge of how everything's made and just building it up to myself. I've never actually made mochi hands on before. It's just basically all on experience of seeing how desserts are made and just speculating a very good recipe on my own and just doing it by myself. And eventually it just came to be. So it took a lot of years, but it was very interesting to experiment the difference between working at a dessert shop compared to like a restaurant scene, which is like very, very, very different.
So do you have a physical location now in New York or are you I mean, do you rent space where people come in and buy these things?
Yes, I do. It's in East Village, so we have a physical store. It's cute and cozy, but yeah, a lot of people come by and just buy mochis on the spot just to eat right now.
Yeah, yeah. Next time I'm in town, I'll do that. So, how did you finance? I don't know how much money was required to start this thing, but how did you get the money together to start all this?
It was basically all through my own savings. I left my last job to put it all into Mochi, and it was a stable job too. My last job was managing like 3 restaurants, and I just left it to do my own thing. So yeah.
So, when you first started Mochi, how did you get the word out? It was in 2017. Obviously, there's social media. Was it all online or was it handing out flyers or standing out with samples in the on the sidewalk? How did you get the word
It's definitely all through online. The presence of social media right now is just really, really heavy. So if you really want to get the word out there, I would definitely say push for social media and Instagram and having influencers come in. They're amazing at what they do. So the more they promote your product, the more people know about it.
So how many employees do you have? So you started this thing 5 years ago, right, or 4.5 years ago? How many do you have employees now, or is it still you running that?
Yeah, I have employees. I have about 7 to 9 employees right now.
Wow, way to go! That's awesome. So
Thank you.
in just that short amount of time, you've grown your business, you've established a following, you've got 7, 8, or 9 employees. That's fantastic. That's amazing. Good for you. Um, as you grow this thing in New York City, there's a lot of stuff going on in New York City, right? And what's the have you ever had anything really funny happen to you when you're starting and growing this company?
Yeah, I guess it's just, it still happens now too. It's just so funny how a lot of, I guess, well-known people have found me here. And it's just mind-blowing to me because I'm such a small store. It's underground and it's like kind of hidden away from the big streets, and yet there's these really, really big well-known people that come in sometimes, and I just get taken aback because I would never expect people to walk into my store, because I wouldn't say like it's not good enough for them, but I'm just quite surprised that it's the concept of this dessert is enough for everyone to enjoy it, no matter what kind of background you are. And I guess mochi is just really like great for everyone to come in. So that was really, I thought that was just really funny to me. So yeah.
So starting and running a business is hard for everyone, right? How
Yeah.
what's the hardest thing that you found about starting and running your own
Huh. Um, it's something I still struggle with now, Mike. I think as the years go by, I realize it's really, really difficult to try to make people happy. I think it's one of the main parts of your job and just any job in general. You deal with people, and I consider myself in the hospitality field. So trying to make people happy and comfortable and giving genuine service is very difficult, and it's something that I still struggle with now. But yeah, I think it's just being able to have people be happy with what you have and making sure that they're okay. Whether it's the staff, the customers, family, friends. Yeah, that's definitely one of my biggest challenges right now.
What's been the most surprising thing for you starting and growing your business?
I guess the most surprising thing was being able to hit that 3 year mark. I think when I was, yeah, in Baruch, the professors always told me that businesses never really go past 3 years, and usually they all close within the first 3 years. So I was pretty shocked that I was able to still hang on after 3 years, which made me feel like I think I'm doing the right thing. So
Yeah. Now, how hard did the pandemic hit you in New York City? Your business?
really hard, really, really hard. It was literally a time where we had to close our store and just stop everything we were doing. And it was just one of the roughest periods because we weren't even sure what was going to happen after that. It was a very unknown time. And thank God it's okay now, but definitely a lot of businesses had such a difficult time debating whether they even still wanted to be open. Is it worth still continuing on the business? And there was just a lot of thoughts during that time.
It hit everywhere hard. I imagine in Manhattan, it's worse than most. So when you started this thing, you didn't have any friends or family that were entrepreneurs, and you had what it sounds like some pretty depressing college professors telling you wouldn't make it. Who did you turn to for right? Who did you turn to for advice? Did you lean on anybody, or did you just figure it out as you went?
Totally. I definitely lean on my mom because she's one of my biggest inspirations starting this place as well. Growing up, she took care of five daughters all by herself, so she definitely knows what she's doing. And whenever I need advice, I would ask her because her kind of advice is very realistic and very straightforward, which is what you kind of need when you're doing business. So I think she was definitely the person I relied on the most during this time.
Well, some moms are pretty smart. Sounds like yours was.
Yeah.
So, how do you market your business today? Is it still mainly social media? Again, I'm looking at your website; it's just fantastic. Is it mainly social media? Do you do any in-person stuff?
Yeah, so I definitely do social media a lot. Recently, unfortunately, my Instagram got hacked, which was really bad, but I think most of my business is actually coming through word of mouth. So we join a lot of companies, one being Goldbelly, and I think one person likes it, they just start telling a lot of other people, and that's how we get known. And definitely the locals that live around here. Yeah,
How long will it take to fix the Instagram hack?
that's a good question. It's not really working out, so I might have to just start new again. It's so sad because it's been 5 years having this Instagram handle and it's just gone in a blink of an eye. So yeah, gotta start
Wow,
all over again. Yeah.
that's terrible. That's terrible. But again, looking at your website, it seems like just a remarkably great amount of content custom made for social media. Holy cow! I'm looking at. I want them all actually. Um, uh, so if you had to, Mimi, if you had to do one thing differently from when you started your business till now, what would it be?
Hmm. I would definitely rebrand myself. I think I didn't really think how important it was to brand yourself to people, and I kind of overlooked that. There's a lot of things that I definitely wish I could have done over again, but I think the branding is definitely one of the most important things when you're starting a new business. So I would definitely try to have a stronger presence of really telling people what I am and who I am as a business. So yeah.
And if you had to pick one of these two things, what's been most important to you in your journey, your entrepreneurial journey? Has it been talent or ambition?
Ambition. Yeah. That's the only thing that keeps me alive and going right now. So yeah.
So, what ambitions do you have for Mochii and NYC? 5 years from now, do you want to be in a bunch of different locations? Do you just want to continue to grow this and your online presence? What do you think the future holds for you?
Yeah, so we are actually expanding at the moment. So I would definitely hope to be out of New York City and be in other states. But right now we are working with having a location in Brooklyn and possibly a location in Queens. And then I'm also doing another passion project, which is a speakeasy. I love making drinks. So that's another thing that I'm doing right now as well. So yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah, well, heck, it sounds like you don't have a lot of downtime, which is great. So, Mimi, if you were going to give advice to an entrepreneur right now, and you are on this program, what would your advice be?
Just really never give up and stay strong and really what you want to do because that's the only thing that can really keep you alive. I think during the pandemic, it really struck me because I was surprised at myself how confident I was in doing everything that I was 100% sure that I still wanted to keep going. And I think that's what you need if you really want a successful business and always try to do better. So yeah.
So, are there any specific challenges that that you faced as a minority and woman entrepreneur that others wouldn't have faced? What might those be?
Definitely a lot. Being a young woman in this business is very hard. A lot of people don't think you're able to handle it and they will look down on you. And even working at the food industry, I still remember in the kitchen, I was always thrown into environments where it was a lot of big guys and they don't really speak English and you just gotta really be able to like work with what you have. So yeah, those are definitely very difficult if people see you as that kind of person when you're not. So, yeah.
Do you think you face more obstacles as a woman entrepreneur or as a Chinese American entrepreneur?
I would definitely say both. I think during, that time, for the pandemic, it was just really hard. We had a lot of people that would criticize us because even though Mochii isn't really, I guess, Chinese, it's still Asian, and we would have people coming in saying that it was, I guess, like dirty or that we were sick and things like that. It's just comments like that that really pain me because we're Asian and they would say these kinds of things, but it goes both ways. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like whatever obstacles you face, you either have already overcome them or you're in the process of it. So, what an amazing achievement on your part. And this whole show is all about telling your story and inspiring the next generation of minority and women entrepreneurs. And you certainly have done that. I mean, heck, you've inspired me. So if any of our listeners want to, and I'll just say this out loud, I'm looking to all the listeners, I'm looking at the website right now, and it's mochiinyc.com, Mochii in New York City.com, and it's pretty amazing. But Mimi, tell us, if you could repeat that website and tell all of our listeners how they can find you online and order and all that.
Yeah, so our website is www.mochiinyc.com. If you want to order online on our website, you can order cake, which is what we do as one of the things, in our store. But if you want to find us, we are located in 116 East 7th Street, Manhattan, New York. And we do also ship nationwide with Goldbelly. So if you want to find us on Goldbelly, we definitely do that as well. It's a perfect gift for people, especially if you're not able to, I guess, get this kind of dessert in your local supermarket. So yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, they're going to have to wait a little bit to find you again on Instagram, right? But it's Mochii in New York City. Yeah. Mochii in NYC. Okay. Well, I know I'm going to order some. Anyway, well, Mimi, thank you so much for taking the time to inspire our listeners and share your story. And good luck in the future. And we will check in from time to time, make sure you're doing all right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you for listening. We hope you were informed and inspired. Now we would like to ask a favor of you. If you could please leave us a review on the podcast platform and follow us, that would be great. And please share us with your network and help support minority business. Thank you.